get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. Everyone's having an incredible start to their Friday, or I guess mid-Friday now. But with that being said, I've got a very special guest joining me today. He's a man that holds a 39-5-1 record with 18 KOs. He goes by the nickname Cornflick. He has a big upcoming fight on May 31st against Jamal Charlo. That's Thomas LaManna. Thomas, appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
Thanks for having me on, man. Thanks for having me, bro. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely, man. Well, let's get right into this because you have a big upcoming fight right now, a couple weeks out. What's going through your mind right now?
No, none. It's regular day for me, bro.
All
You know
right.
what I mean? I don't really think about it too much. You know what I mean? I think about it when I'm in the gym. You know what I mean? And I put the work in. But when I'm home, I'm home. You know what I mean? I don't really get into it too much.
I like this. So you're able to kind of flip the switch then between when you're inside the ring and outside the ring pretty well then?
Yeah, for sure.
Walk us through that. Has that always been easy for yourself, or has that just been something that's kind of you've had to develop over time?
No, over time, you know, you got more experience. You get more.
Oh, we'll see what's going on real quick. Hopefully, gets to settle real quick. I'm sure something froze on his end. Going to a quick commercial break, and we'll get right back to it. So now that we got all that fixed out now, so let's get right back to what I was saying though, Thomas. So you talk about just being able to adjust over your career. Has that always been something that's been easy for yourself, or did you learn to adjust and flip the switch over your career?
No, like I was saying, excuse me, over time you get like when you're younger and
Mhm.
like you're like still in, like I wouldn't like so, all right, so I'm in it, I'm in the game and all that good shit, but like when you're younger and fresher, you're just always thinking about it. But like now, when you get older, you get more experience. You're
Right.
like, you know, it's just like another thing. Like well, I'm used to it, right? And I learned to like not overflood my brain with like we're gonna fight regardless, you know,
Right.
like so like, we're gonna fight regardless. So why overthink it?
Exactly. I like that point, man. So let's get into this fight then. You have Jamal Charlo, May 31st. Obviously, we know this is a big fight in your career, but it's not the only big fight you've been a part of. You've been on this stage before. You fought for world championships before. When you
Yeah.
talk about this fight, is there anything different, or is it just another fight you look at? You know what? He's in front of my path. I want to continue my win streak. How are you kind of approaching it from that standpoint?
No, he's the biggest. He's the biggest fight I've ever had. You know what I mean? He's the
Mhm.
biggest name.
Right.
Yeah, so like I put everything into this camp. We've only kind of been training for it since like the end of September,
Right.
because this is like the third time, third date. So yeah, man. I mean, but but look, he is who he is. He's a two division world champion.
Hmm.
When he was hot, he was the best. In my opinion, he's the lineal champ, without the title, without the stamp. You know what I'm saying? He's still undefeated, never lost his belt. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, it's just like, it's big shit. So, but we still got to fight.
Now, you obviously said that he's going to be your biggest one yet. Obviously, the other one that you could say is arguably up there is the one with Laura, obviously, when you fought for world championship. What's the differences between the two of them? Because you said this is the biggest one. You're more so just saying name-wise, or you're saying overall talent-wise?
Both.
Okay.
He's a bigger name than Lara. Yeah, I fought Lara for the world title, right?
Hmm.
Um, that was big. Like that's the pinnacle. Like that's you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like that's, but Jamal's a bigger name.
Hmm.
Um, Stylistically, they're different, but they're both very good. They're both very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
neither one of them are easy.
You also mentioned a key point that I actually like the way you approach this because you had the opportunity where this fight could happen all the way back in September. You've been fighting for a long time. It got postponed again because of the Tank Davis card. Now it gets postponed to the May one. And
Yeah.
you decided, though, to stay active. You went and got a fight in between all these times, just a couple months ago, back there in March. Walk us through this time because it had to be a little chaotic. You have this big fight lined up, pushed back. Inactivity is never what you guys want to do. So, how did you kind of go through this time span and what led you to also make the decision to go and fight in March?
We didn't want to waste the camp. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I was training for it. You know what I mean? They kept me on ice. They sent me a contract. I signed it. You know what
Mm,
I'm saying? And yeah, like I was getting ready for it. And then whatever the reason happened why we didn't do it, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna get into that, but thankfully my team, I have a great team that didn't want me to waste the camp. And
hmm
I'm friendly with Danny Garcia and his crew, and it was really easy, really simple. And they put me on the show, and we took care of business. Obviously, you know what I'm saying. And yeah, man. And then we just let boxing find us. And then like a week later, PBC called, Louis DeCubis called, and you know what I mean. I still remember the convo. And
hmm
yeah, man. He was like, if we're gonna do it on this day, blah blah blah, and things were worked out, and it was cool. So
I think when you talk about inactivity, it's a huge thing. For yourself, that's not going to be your story. For obviously for Charlie, that's going to be his biggest thing. We haven't seen him around the ring for a while now. You've been active, just fought in March. You're also on a big win streak now, 8 week fights in a row now. When you talk about the inactivity standpoint, that for yourself, obviously the activity standpoint, how much do you think that's going to benefit you in that fight, or will it?
um, I think it will, but like he's got to let the fight play out. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
definitely.
Just because he hasn't been active or whatever, we don't know what he's really been doing in his time. So that's why I just tell everybody, man. You know what I mean? I'm sticking to it. I'm not trying to sound like a broken record or real cliche. We just gotta let the fight happen. Let the
Hmm.
fights happen, and we'll see, how it pans out. You know what I mean? But there's no question I got the momentum. Like
Yeah,
I'm the one that's been active. I'm the one that's been, you know what I mean, however many, like you just said, all 8, 9 fights in, couple
yeah.
knockouts street, couple knockout street. Yeah, so like I got all that.
Hmm.
That's one thing I got over him, guaranteed, undisputable. You know what I mean? Indisputable. I'm sorry.
Right.
Um, Yeah, man. So we'll see.
Another huge part about this is that this is obviously something that you said. I think it was in a quote. I think it was either in one of the press conferences or something. You said, "This is my last shot. I'm going to make it my best shot." Can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, man. That's my last shot. This big at this big platform, big
Okay.
stage, right? Like, you know what I
Hmm.
mean. Um, I work my way back. I've been boxing a long time, going on 15 years. I think it was February of 2011.
Hmm.
So we're talking 14 years going on 15. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, man, it's my last shot. You know what I'm saying, and everyone's gotta make the best of it. It's the biggest name. Jamal Charlo is a bigger name than all 40 plus opponents of mine combined, and
Right.
again, that includes Laura, who I fought for a world title. So I mean, hopefully, I'll uh, benefit from the fruits of my labor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All this time. So, but I mean, it's the truth, man. There's no secrets. My last shot. I'm gonna make it my best shot.
At the conclusion of May 31st, the fight's done. What do you want people saying about Thomas LaManna?
That's a bad motherfucker, bro. Yeah, someone that I mean, that's a resilient dude, man, and he's the people's champion.
Mm,
You know what I mean? I think that's really what it's all about. I mean, and then quite frankly, it doesn't really bother me. It doesn't matter. Um, I mean, I just one thing I could leave is he never you know what I mean, he don't give up. That's for
mm.
sure. You know what I mean, it's a bad dude.
I think that's a huge thing because we look at some guys in recent times. We had fights that people look at and would say it's not very entertaining. Kind of looking back at 2 weeks ago at the Times Square cards and those things. And we had a situation where Mon Cardenas obviously went out there. He didn't win the fight, but he became a people's champion. He won and put everything out there. When
Yeah.
you talk about that, I feel like that's kind of what you're saying, that no matter what's going to happen, win, lose, draw, whatever, I want to go out there and make a statement that people know that I'm for real and I'm going to lay it all out there. Walk us through that mindset a little bit.
It's just the mindset. I
Mm,
mean, it's just like you said it best. Um, just the mindset you gotta have. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like I'm a plus 700 underdog. Nobody in boxing thinks I'm gonna win.
Hmm.
They chose me for a reason. So
Yeah.
with all that being said, it's like, yo, I just gotta do my part, do my job. And I was talking to my man earlier today, a reporter, and I told him, I said, yo, dude, like I'm human, right? So I'm
Hmm.
human. As long as I don't let this moment get to me, the moment, like the
Yeah.
moment. As long as it don't get to me, because again, I'm human. I don't care all that experience, all these fights, all these years, all these whatever. We're both human.
Yep.
If that moment don't get to me, I got him.
Mm.
Promise you, I got him. That's the mindset I have. You know what I'm saying? So that's like a personal thing.
Right. And you talk about the fact being an underdog, and there's even been discussions. I know tons of people kind of rumoring it out there. Caleb Plant, Charlotte, both fighting back-to-back fights. That's the fight they want to make long term. When you talk about being the underdog and knowing that you have a chance to blow up those plans, something that we've seen recently, Raleigh just did against Ryan Garcia and blew up those plans. We've seen this upsets happen time and time again. Does that add a level of motivation to yourself when you look at that?
I mean, nah, like that don't add to it, bro. I'm not gonna
Okay.
lie, it don't really add to it. Because you know, it is what it is. Quite frankly, I don't be surprised if you see Ryan fight Devin next anyway, because
Good
it's
point.
boxing, it's a business, right?
Right. You're
So
right.
yeah, like it's boxing. So like I just gotta focus on me, on my task, do what's in front of me, and do what I gotta do to secure victory, and I'll go from there.
I do have to ask though about the build-up process for this fight. We know that there's a lot of high characters, and you guys had that Zoom call, whatever that was, the very, very first one you guys announced the fight. Obviously, that went viral for countless reasons and different clips from that thing. But when you talk about it, you guys have a lot of characters between Caleb Plant, Charlo, yourself, a lot of high characters, a lot of trash talking. We saw the results from that press conference thing. When you talk about that, how exciting, how fun has it been just doing this press conference with these guys?
Say that last part one more time.
Yeah, yeah. How exciting, how fun has it been just kind of being a part of this press conference and this build-up process?
That was cool. I mean, the in person was pretty cool.
Yeah,
But it's gonna get live next week or 2 weeks, whenever it is. Like
yeah,
when we're in
yeah.
person, yeah. Like then that's where the real shit's gonna happen, though. I was expecting it to be a little more spicy,
Hmm.
a week or two ago when we were in LA,
Yeah.
but um, Nah, I feel like next week, or I'm sorry, in 2 weeks when we're in
Yeah.
Vegas, week and a half when we're in Vegas, we
Mhm.
do like whatever we do. There's gonna be some shit. There's gonna be some shit, and it wouldn't be like I just told my wife like I'm just dancing to their beat,
Yeah.
whatever it is. I'm just gonna dance to their beat. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I'm not. I'm here to fight.
I feel like there's some guys that just want to kind of be quiet at the press conferences. It's not really their thing. I feel like you're one of those guys that maybe doesn't want to instigate it, but you do enjoy it when it does get going a little bit. Walk to that aspect. Like, is it fun for you? Like, when there starts getting some trash talk, when things get heated and spicy a little bit, does that make you a little more excited and have more fun up there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
like you gotta have fun with it though. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like when we were in the in person, Jamal blatantly lied, but was saying how like I was spamming him, how I was blowing him up, how I
Mhm.
was, yeah, I mean, I was texting him, DMing him, you know what I mean, all that good shit. I said, bro, like, I'm pissed because it didn't like come to mind then and there that like, yo, I literally only texted him one time and put like a question mark, so technically two, and I
Sure.
might have FaceTimed him twice,
All right.
so I'll give him four times, and
Mhm.
then on Instagram, if I at you or if I just tag you in a story or whatever it is,
Mhm.
I don't consider that like you could like, and I put the DMs, I put it out there like the screen recording. It's
Sure.
like it's
Yeah.
not like I'm blowing him up on Instagram. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Like it was just atting them, and only that was just because I wanted to know what was going on. But like I
Okay.
said, I was put on ice since the end of September. Um, but to allude to what you were saying, like I have fun with it. Like
Mhm.
where he was like, stop texting me, stop calling me. I'm like, well, just answer, and then maybe I won't. Like I mean, all you gotta do is answer one time.
Yeah.
I'll mess with him like that, man. Like you know what I mean. But I still do because I know it's gonna come up next. When we're there, then I'm gonna put him on blast. I'm like, yo, you're capping. Like you've been capping about a lot of things. I'm gonna put him on blast for a lot of shit that he doesn't know that I know, and just to get under the skin, man. It's like, yeah, like why not?
When you talk about this fight, the last thing I want to get into about this fight, what's your prediction? How do you see that night going down?
Yeah, man. I just say, we're gonna shock the world. As I've been telling everybody, we're gonna shock the world. I'm not saying that and really. Uh, that's it. We're gonna shock the world.
Love that, man. Well, I do want to get into your story a little bit because you have got quite the journey to get to this point. I was researching some about you. And I really want to get to know your story a little bit better. So I want to start with this one question, though. When we go all the way back, was boxing always what you wanted to do? Is this the career path that you chose from a young age? Did it take time to develop, or when did you fall in love with the sport?
So I was always born. I was born into boxing. One of my godfathers is Ray Mercer. Former heavyweight champion, Olympic gold medalist. You know what I mean. So I was born into boxing. My father was his manager towards the mid to later part of his career, and so I was born into it. I played all sports. That wasn't really good at it: football, basketball, baseball, all that good stuff. And then in middle school, one of my good friends, Marvin, he was an amateur boxer, and I was so used to the pro game, that like the professional, that I didn't really know about amateurs,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought me a paper about his gym. It was a Boys and Girls Club of Ireland. I went, and I loved it ever since. I mean,
Okay.
that's the song I want to do. My parents let me go because, just like every other sport, they didn't think I would stick with it. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like they didn't think I would stick with it, and so let me go. But I ended up doing. I mean, I ended up going, and I loved it, and I stayed, and yeah, the career. I mean, rest is history. That was like maybe 2005, maybe
Okay.
2005. Yeah. So it's been a hot minute.
Now, did you know that you were going to have the successful career that you've had to this point? Where you're going to be fighting for a world championship, getting this type of
Nah.
fight, or is this kind of shocking to you?
I mean, you know what? Look, you never say never, but like, nah, nah. I think, I think I would get to where I would get to.
Mm-hmm.
There's a certain time in my career where like I had retired. You know what I mean? Like I quit.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Like shit isn't going. You know what I mean? Right for me, politics, and you know what I'm saying. I had to promote myself. I got dropped by a promoter, so then I had to start promoting myself. And
Mm-hmm.
like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
Sure.
Is that yeah,
Yeah.
that wasn't really it for me. And then I don't know, one thing led to another. Came back like months later. and yeah, just continue going. But it's been a grind, man. It's been a grind.
Mm-hmm.
To say I'm proud is an understatement for sure.
Mm.
Like if I retire tomorrow, like I'm proud, I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but we'll close that book. We'll close that chapter after the 31st and see. You know what I mean? What's next?
Depending on what happens May 31st, is that going to determine your career from a standpoint of how many more fights you're going to do? Like, do you see yourself already possibly moving on from boxing in the future? If you win, obviously, I'm sure you have a lot more on the table. But where do you see yourself in terms of how much more you have left in the tank for boxing?
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's something that's tough because I could tell you right now, yeah, I'll be done. I'm good with being done today, or
Oh,
tomorrow,
okay.
or next year. But
Hmm.
then, you know what I mean? Calls come, I get bored. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't know, but like no, I ain't gonna lie, man. Like, uh, I'm set up pretty good. I think with like I have a gym, I have a promotional company.
Yeah.
Touch wood. It's like I'm not considering bullshit, and you say like I'm the richest person in the world, but like I don't think I'm the one of those that need boxing. You understand?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
just
got you.
love it, and I'm in a great position, making good money. That's great, but like again, sometimes sometimes at one point in time, the juice was definitely not worth the squeeze. That's for sure.
Mm.
But prayer, grind, and never stop. Never stop believing in yourself and don't quit. All the cliche shit
Yeah.
gets you to good places. Yeah.
I want to get into that retirement portion for yourself because you were considering that 2017. I know that when I was reading about you and researching was
Mhm.
really a tough time for yourself when you were considering that. And then I know COVID as well was another time period for yourself.
Yeah.
When you talk about that, and now you might make it sound a little bit easier, just write it out in a sentence. Yeah, I was retired, but obviously I came back and was great again. But when you talk about going through those times, it had to be difficult for yourself. What pushed you through and what got you through that saying, you know what, I'm going to keep pursuing my dream?
Um. At that time, I didn't have nothing else for real. Like I really
Mm,
didn't have nothing else.
okay.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, like that was right around the time when my then girlfriend, now wife, got pregnant.
Hmm.
So it's like, yeah, like shit got real.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. What else? A couple talks. A couple. Obviously, I got talked back into it by, you know what I mean. Was given promises by people. Some
Hmm.
some kept them, some didn't. Whatever. Um, Definitely want to give a shout out to the boxing commissioner Larry Hazard, who pulled me to the side, who because I was technically retired, where he
Yeah.
could do that. You know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, Thomas, like it's your life, your career, but I feel like you have a lot more in the tank. Blah
Mm,
blah blah, whatever. And so I thought about it, and so again, the right people gave it, I mean, actually cared, genuinely cared, and
hmm.
they're like, just give it, kind of like what I was just saying, my last shot, my best shot. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I mean, it's a different of a fight, and that was 8 years ago. You know what I'm saying? 7, 8
Right.
years ago. So the prolong all the time, but like make it your best shot. You know what I mean? So that's all. And then just self again self belief, man. Like I knew there was. I think at that time, what I have 2 losses, maybe
Sure.
something like
Yeah.
that. You know
2017.
what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like I lost before. It's like what I mean. I know what it feels like, so it's not like it's nothing new. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I knew there was some maybe some good decent paydays on the horizon, opportunities I'll call it. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
yeah, I should say. I should
I
say.
I love that part too because I feel like so many guys, obviously Floyd Mayweather era really made the zero losses something a massive thing. But I think when people get beyond that standpoint and realize Floyd, it is what it is, you can still have a great career. And honestly, as long as you learn from those losses, I think you become better. And look at yourself. Obviously, you have 5 losses in your career, but you're back in this position again. You fought for a world championship, but you've always found a way to bounce back from those losses. What's led you to do that? Because so many guys, there are guys obviously out there that say, I lost, and they get down themselves. They don't have the confidence, and their careers go downhill. What's allowed you to continue to rebuild yourself and get back each and every single time?
Um, Stubbornness.
All right.
I mean, but I'm also like I've done it on my own. I mean, I have a great
Mhm.
team, right? Like I don't want to say me, like we've collectively, like, you know, this last run since Lara, man, look, like Uh, Nah, like yo, my guy Danny Gonzalez, my manager. He's like the main one that finally kicked me in the ass and was like, yo, like, because I came to him to ask him to help me out. Would you manage me? He's an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's another rule of thumb I give the young fighters. Like, yo, if you can get a manager that's an attorney that knows boxing, don't just get like some jerk off that's an attorney, right?
Yeah.
Make sure that's someone that knows boxing. Blah blah blah.
Agree.
um, asked him to help. I laid out how we did it to get to Laura. I laid out what a plan in my opinion is what we could do to get to another opportunity, which hence here we are. And
Mm-hmm.
he believed in me, man. Yo, Danny believed in me, man. It's one of my best friends. That's my guy. That's my everything. And he also I have a co-management group now, TMA management, Marty and Tommy. They've been great to me. They've been nothing but they're just true blessings. They're great people. Marty's also an attorney, a contract
Mm-hmm.
attorney. So like I got two out of the three managers I have, two of them are attorneys, so that's pretty dope. Um, so I'll just say, there's stubbornness, there's luck, there's experience. Like, I put my boxing brain, tag it along with Danny's boxing brain, Marty's boxing brain, Tommy, like, and we all just come up with a plan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, I have resources. I have a whole promotion company. Like, you know what I mean? I have connection. Like, it's not hard,
Mm-hmm.
if we do it the right way. And we did it. And we did it. And we stuck to a plan. We didn't get off track. I'm gonna tell you. I'm not gonna bullshit you and tell you it was easy because it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But we did what we had to do, and that's it. I'm here.
I think so many people look at boxing and say, this is an independent sport. Obviously when you step in the ring, it's you versus the other guy. But the
Yeah.
team aspect, I think, is such an underrated value that people from the outside the boxing world don't give enough quality to. And you just kind of went and discuss that. The impact of having the manager, the impact of having that team around you. How
Yeah.
critical is it for a boxer to say, you know what? Yes, I'm going to step in the ring. I'll do my job when I'm in the ring. But everything else around boxing, I need a team around me and the right team, I should say. How important is that for a boxer?
No, it's so important, bro.
Mm,
Bro, boxing is it messes you up mentally so bad, bro. You need to have a team.
mm,
Now you gotta have a team. Like you just gotta have a team. And it's funny if he was here right next to me, if he was listening, he'd probably be flipping me off right now because I'm very like I'm OD independent, bro. Like
mm.
I'd rather just do it on my own because I know it gets done the right way and shit. And he always
Right.
tells me, like, he always messages me talking about, flake time, flake time. Like, everything's on flake time. You know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, jerk off. But you need a team, bro. Yeah, like you need a team, man.
Mm-hmm.
Even with like the promoting, it's like I did all that on my own at one point for budgeting purposes. Like when you're
Mm-hmm.
starting off, grassroots promotion is my heart. It's my everything. Then eventually you build up. You learn the ways. You learn this. You do that. Whatever. You could bring on some more people to help you. It's so
Mm-hmm.
important. It's such a difference, man.
All
Such a
right.
difference. If you got the right people, though, I think the major key is getting the right people.
Yeah.
You could have, you know what I mean? You could have a team of four. Bro, there's times, okay, I had one, two, I had three people.
Mm-hmm.
I had three people working, you know what I mean, on my last event we did last month. And they're good. And they're four, including my mother. And
Okay.
they're really good, okay? Or I could have I know one really good person that will trump all of them combined.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like you could have one really good person or four that might get it done. It all depends, bro. Like it all
Mm-hmm.
depends. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think it's just it's quality, not quantity.
100% agree, man. Now you also have something in your social media bios, dark places. Can you take us through that a little bit? Why do you have that there?
Yeah, man. I think the dark that's always been my thing. Where it really kind of started like in the boxing style, take them into dark places. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
get them out. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And but that's also life too, man. You know what I mean? Everybody has a story. Everybody has a
Mm-hmm.
story. Everybody has a dark time. Everybody has a time in their life where it's dark. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. I just got off the phone with one of my really good friends. I didn't even know he was in fucking recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard from him in 10 days. Now I know why. You know what I mean? Like it's a dark, yeah, it's dark times. You know what I'm saying? So It's always been my thing. And yeah, man, it's like, people have had it worse than me. I
Right.
know that, and I'm not judging. It is what it is. But I think uh, yeah, stark places, man. Boxing is really spooky. Inside the ring, man, it gets spooky.
I also want to talk about your promotions company, and I actually want to go all the way back to why did you originally start it? Because this is obviously you're still a boxer. You decided to become a promotion aspect and get kind of two careers going on at once for yourself. What led you to the decision to go start your promotions company?
All right. So what made me start it was when after I had my first loss, I lost to Antoine Douglas, and I was
Hmm.
signed with Russell Peltz, Hall of Famer, legend. Still to this day, he will forever and a day forget more about boxing than what I'll ever know. He dropped me. He released me. All right. I and I tell everybody, I made 30 grand for my first big, like that was my first big step up back, way back whenever, and I think 2012 or 13, and lost that. All right, lesson learned. Now I got no promoter. Fuck, I got nothing. All right, but I kind of had always the promotion. I had a promoter background.
Hmm.
Shout out to Samson Liskowicz. Sorry, he was the first one to ever give me an internship under Samson Boxing. He
Mm.
did a show in Atlantic City. I fought for him once in Atlantic City. Then he brought me back as a an intern. I
Okay.
walk. You know what I mean. I walked in his footsteps. Everything. You know what I'm saying. And I learned a lot. He's a Hall of Famer as well. So I kind of had like the ins and outs.
Sure.
Um, and then I just took it after. Okay, so basically after I got released, I spoke with my mom, my dad. I'm like, hey, I think we should do this. I think we should do it for real. And I couldn't get a bond at the time, so you need a surety bond to get licensed and stuff. Um, I couldn't get that because I don't have no, I mean, no house, no car, no whatever, whatever. Okay, so my mom got it. She has all that. She was able to get a bond, so the
Hmm.
license was in her name. Originally, it was going to be Rising Sun Promotions,
Mm.
Rise SON, like the Rising Sun, the me,
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, nah, that's whack. Let's do Rising Star. So it was Rising Star Promotions. All right, cool. Um, we scheduled an event. It was my get back fight, my first fight after the loss. It was gonna be in Millville, where I'm from, and we put everything together. And it just, typical grassroots boxing. It didn't happen.
Hmm.
Um, I learned so much, you know what I mean, of what and what not to do. We had to learn the ropes, we had to learn the logistics, we had to learn the commission paperwork. You know what I mean, like yeah, and so that didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? That didn't work out. But
Yeah.
it was trial and error. Then finally we got it December 5th, 2015. I fought on the show. I was the main event. We had like 4 or 5 fights. It was a clusterfuck, but we did the event. You know what I mean? And that's where I really like cemented like, oh, all right, wow, we did it. So December 5th, 2015, that was our very first show. Um, and that's really it. So to answer your question, we started it because I had nobody to move my career. I
Mm.
had no promoter. I had nothing. Right. I didn't have that. Um, and by the way, I actually had 2 fights before our first show. I had 2 fights before our first show. Okay.
Okay.
Um, Lou DiBella put me on the card, and then another local promoter, Brandon Barrett, put me on the card. Who I was with? He was always like my silent promoter, Mr. Vinny Ponte. He did everything he was a god sent for me.
Mm.
Mr. Ponte, he's the very first guy I signed with. Again, he was just a local promoter, small. Did a couple shows. Boxing wasn't for him. We went our separate ways. Okay. Then he partnered with Russell Peltz, and I think when after Russell dropped me, Mr. Ponte was with me for one more fight. And then he's got out of boxing. Um, um, Okay, yeah, now it's all clicking now. I
All right.
remember. Okay, we didn't want to do like we didn't want to wait for nobody. Like wait for other promoters to put me on cards, and we have to do guaranteed tickets. This and you know what I mean. Like it's just a headache. Club show boxing is a headache, and I'm a promoter. I'll be the first to tell you it's hard. It's so hard on both ends. So like
Mm-hmm.
I get it. That's why like I only deal with certain people who understand. Understand. I mean, I like
Makes sense. Yeah.
if you want to work with me, yeah. So to answer your question, I didn't have a promoter, so I needed to move my career. That's how it started.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, and now this is our 10th year anniversary. At first, then I labeled it as a successful hobby because I just was getting fucking good at it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just again like throughout all the years, you make the connections, you build relationships with managers, other promoters, fighters. You're able to do good business. I'm able to raise sponsors to get the cost down. Um, I would bring in, X amount of people and bring in X amount of dollars to the. I started at a small ballroom. I'm sorry, theater in the Claridge, in Atlantic
Mm-hmm.
City. So selling 600 people is not hard, right? Like it's just not hard.
Yeah.
Okay, filling that place up, doing $10,000-$15,000 bar gates. I mean, I like bar. I was called the bar.
Okay.
That's big for them for boxing. That's
Mm-hmm.
huge. So I would get the venue for free. I would get mad hotel rooms. Like it was becoming a successful hobby. And then, as they say, life is life. And my personal boxing career was like again at the time because again December 2015.
Right.
So it's like the end, basically 2016.
Mm-hmm.
That lasted about a year and a half. Then I went through my fuck this, I'm gonna retire, blah blah blah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the rest is history. You know what I'm saying? Like it's, you know what I mean, the rest is history. Now today, I tell everybody, man, this is my life after boxing.
Mm.
This is my life after boxing. So what I'm fortunate is, let's just say I do retire
Mm-hmm.
in 2 years,
Sure.
right? I'm just using that as an example. I got 12 years of promotion experience
Yep.
to then now start. Like I don't have to start fresh now when I'm done fighting. I don't gotta like just go back to 2015 time to figure it
Exactly.
all
Yep.
out. Nah, we just like like you know what I mean, just
Mm-hmm.
transfer it over. So that's the answer for now. Why you still do it? Because life after boxing. Um, I'm good with my 3-4 shows a year. There's some years I did fucking three back to back to back consecutive. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I ain't doing that again. And we did in did 3 shows in 3 different cities, 2 states,
Wow.
3 cities. It was dope. It was dope. It was a fun experience.
Mm-hmm.
But never again.
All right.
Not without a TV budget, at least.
Sure.
Um, yeah, man. So I mean, that's the answer. It's just life after boxing now.
Love that, man. Now, what's kind of crazy about that is almost like as if it was a blessing in disguise because I don't think anybody would have said, I want to get dropped by a promotion company, be put in the situation you were in. And yet this ends up turning into you getting the opportunity to now have your life after boxing for yourself. How crazy is it kind of looking back at that and realizing that truly is blessings in every opportunity, even when things aren't going right at that moment?
Now you said that. Yeah, you know what? No, that's for real, bro.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge blessing because yeah, man. Just because shit ain't going right for you now, that don't mean that the big man upstairs ain't right next to you, bro. I'm a
You're
firm
right.
believer in that, man. Um, yeah, I'm a firm believer in that, bro. Like it's you know what I'm saying? Uh, yeah, I don't know, it's crazy. I'm kind of lost for words. That's for real. Just because
Mm-hmm.
shit wasn't going right then, doesn't mean shit ain't gonna go right now or soon. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? So like,
100% agree.
yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, Thomas, I have one final question for you. It's the question I like wrapping up every single interview with, and that's talking about your legacy. As you said, one day you're going to step away from boxing. When that day does come for yourself, what do you want it to be? What do you want to remember for what you've accomplished inside and outside of the ring?
um, yeah. Again, cliche shit.
Mm-hmm.
Cliche. I don't want to say it again. Um, yeah. You never give up. You
Mm-hmm.
don't ever give up. You know what I'm saying? stay true to yourself, believe in yourself. Um, Sometimes the grass ain't greener on the other side. But there's reasons I lost 5 times. There's reasons I got put in the first round a couple years ago. You know what I'm saying? But I'm back here. Like,
Yep.
it's like, yo, my story, like, God willing, I could write a book. Bro, if I write a book, bro, that book would be crazy because the ups and downs, and it's like, there's not a lot of people, in my opinion, that could even scratch the surface of a career I had, and I say that respectfully, because you just don't see it. You just don't see it. There's a lot of entitlement in boxing. There's a lot of ego in boxing. I think as soon as you put that shit away, magic shit can happen, and you put the big man upstairs first. Yeah, you there it is. Above all else, guard your heart, and for everything you do flows with. Bro, I seen that yesterday.
Yep.
That hit me home. That hit. I'm sorry, like that hit hard yesterday. I was watching. I didn't know if that was gonna be on again today, and I was gonna
Yep.
ask you what it was, but that's dope. That's a good one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Thomas, I appreciate you for taking time to come on in, man. It was a blessing having you on here. And I can't wait to see what God's got in store for you both on May 31st and whatever's going forward after that, man.
Facts. No, I appreciate your time, bro. Sorry for yesterday.
Oh, good, man.
Thank God we got it done today.
Yep.
My technology is just whatever. I'm sorry you got to see my sauna in the back, but we're here. We got it done. It's probably better than a car yesterday.
Yeah, it's all good, man. No worries.
Yeah, man. So, but yeah, I'm glad we got it done, bro.
Of course. You're always welcome on, man. God bless, brother.
You too, man.
All right, see you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate everyone for tuning into that interview. I'll get that clipped up and edited out after today's show. I'm going to go on a quick break, and then we have our next guest coming up in just a few short minutes. See you guys shortly. what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. Joining me now is a man that's coming off a big win just 1 week ago. He has 19-0 in his career with 15 KOs. He goes by the nickname Grind Time. That's Breyon Gorham. Breyon, appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
Hey, appreciate you for having me on, my brother.
Absolutely, man. So I know we were just talking a few moments ago, though, but now you're a week removed from your fight. How's it feel? What's your thoughts on the fight and your performance as of now?
Man, it was a surreal moment. I felt like I gained so much experience. I got so much confidence from that fight, and it's a good feeling.
As you've now looked it back, I'm sure you watched the film, rewatched a time or two now. Overall, what would you say is the biggest thing you've learned from the fight, and the biggest thing you've learned from the fight, and your biggest takeaway from that fight?
Uh, my biggest takeaway from the fight, bro, is that I can compete with those type of fighters. You know, with the resume that Feliciano had. You know, I can compete with those guys, and that I can take a punch too because he hit me a couple times. So.
Yeah. Well, let's break down that fight because you overall were in control the entire fight. The scorecards were 98-91, 97-92, 99-90. Obviously, I feel like there's a couple rounds in the middle rounds where he looked a little bit better, and you obviously did your thing, but you recovered overall. But from the first half of the fight and then the way you concluded the fight, obviously was perfect for yourself. When you look at that overall, and you look at a guy, Luis Feliciano, who has had a great run to this point, a good established career, how much confidence does that give you now going forward?
Like I said, it gives me the confidence that I can compete with guys with a resume like that, who had like a history that he had in boxing. I always felt like I could compete with the best fighters on the planet. You know, I've been there with the best fighters on the planet, so I know what level I'm at, and I knew that he was gonna bring a different type of fighter out of me, and he did that. So.
You know, I do have to ask you about one thing, though. I don't think I've ever talked about this before on the show before, but on your weigh-in process, you had a very signature underwear you were wearing that fight, to say the least. I got to know the backstory behind that. How did that come to be?
So my girlfriend, she had actually bought me the underwear like 6 months prior, like to that fight. And
Okay.
we was just at home like talking and vibing, and I had the underwear and I was looking. I was like, "Babe, I'm gonna wear them to the fight one day." We just like we said it as a. She thought I was joking, but I was like super serious. Like I'm gonna wear them at the fight, and she thought I had forgot the day of, and I had popped out with them on the day of weigh-in. So yeah, it was just something like different, like trans thing. I ain't never seen nobody do that before, and I was showing my love for her too. So.
Did you expect it to get the reaction that it did?
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I really did because, like I said, I know like nobody never did that before, so
Yeah.
I knew it was like gonna turn heads, like damn, that's different, or like you gonna have your critics and stuff, of course, but like all attention, the good attention, the bad attention, I take it all in, bro, for sure.
Now, we know a part of boxing is obviously the outside the ring stuff, whether that be the ring walks, to be different things like that to bring attention to your fights. Is this something that moving forward now you're going to have to step up your game and be kind of continue some kind of process like this?
Um, yeah, I just feel like being me,
Yeah.
I get those type of reactions out of people. That was just something me being myself. Um, Yeah, like I feel like I can do a lot of different things, but I have a lot of ideas, and I feel like I'm being me, and me being me is gonna be a trendsetting thing for sure.
Mm. So we could see some more crazy things between the weigh-ins or walkouts in the future then?
Yeah, yeah, you could definitely probably see a couple different stuff for sure.
Absolutely, man. Well, another thing I want to get into is that somebody that was commentating on your fight with Shakur Stevenson, one of the pound greats in boxing today. And I know you guys have trained together. You guys have some history together. When you hear some of the praise, I'm not sure if you've listened back to the commentary, but he was very, very high on you, talking about, okay, he's the next up. He's legit. And obviously, I think it's well-deserved praise as well. But when you talk about just having a guy like Shakur Stevenson, who's at a place where I'm sure you want to be at one day as a world champion, what does that
Definitely,
mean to you?
man. It showed me that I'm on the right track. That we got guys like him looking at us,
Hmm.
former world champions, multiple weight class world champions. Like I said, I've been in the ring with him before, and you know, he knows the talent that I got and the potential I got. And I definitely feel like I can be like on the level that he at.
Mm. You said something key that you think you can be at a level that he's at. I said top 10 pound type of guy. What gives you that confidence?
Just my skill set in the ring, my dedication to the sport, my hard work. I got a good team. All the chemistry to create a legendary fighter. I got it
Mm.
all.
You've also sparred, like I said, you sparred Shakur Stevenson. How did those rounds go?
Man, it was competitive rounds. It showed me that.
Mm.
Not it only didn't show me that I can compete at that level, but that I can just be around people like that.
Yeah.
I definitely learned a lot from the sparring. it gave me a different outlook, a different type of confidence. It was a good session. It was good. We sparred like 4 times. I had sparred with him with his whole camp when he was
Okay.
fighting Robin Kaiser style.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
fought with
Yeah.
him that whole camp.
And that's obviously a huge guy that, in my opinion, is the best defense in boxing right now overall out of all the champions. And you're looking at a guy like that, and then we look at your fight. And I know, like I said, there were a couple rounds in there where he caught you, whatnot. But overall, I think your defense was incredible for most of the rounds in that fight.
Thank you, bro.
When
Thank
you
you.
talk about that ability, your defensive ability, the way that you're able to defend, and obviously there's still improvement, you can always get better. But the way you have, would you say that you've taken a lot of pieces from Shakur?
Definitely, I can definitely say that. Like
Okay.
as far as like the distance, the
Yeah.
way he controls the distance, that's something I definitely noticed. Um, my coach Lopez, he always taught me to always never fear being in the middle range and fighting. So I have the good defense responsibilities when I'm uh, in the ring, middle range, outside, inside.
Yeah.
I'm learning it all in the gym. So
You have sparred quite a few guys. I know Regis Prograis is another guy you have on your post that you post before on Instagram. Who's been the toughest guy you sparred against?
the toughest guy, I would say it was this guy named Darren Price. I don't know if you
Mm.
know him. Darren
I'm
Price,
not familiar,
he was
no.
real long, real tall. I feel like that was the most difficult sparring I ever had.
All right. Well, I want people to get to know your story a little bit better because you have got quite the journey to get to this point. It wasn't always just easy. You didn't just go sign to a massive promotional company right out the gate. That's the exact opposite of your story, actually. You've gotten to the place you're at today. So let's go all the way back. I got to ask you, has boxing always been your dream? Has this always been what you want to pursue, or when did you fall in love with the sport?
Um, yeah, boxing's always been in my family, so it was kind
Yeah.
of spoken up onto my life way before I was born. So when I did get into boxing, I got into it and I was like a fish to water almost. So
Mm-hmm.
it was definitely something I was interested in. I grew up watching boxing. My uncles, they used to put boxing on in front of me being young, 4 years old, 5 years old. I go to
Mm.
my uncle fights and things like that. So I always been around boxing, and that was always spoken in my life. So that's definitely something like that I was interested in. And like I said, I went full fledged and went all in.
When you made the decision to go all in, how old were you then?
Um, 15,
All right.
15 years old.
So at that point in time, did you know that you were going to have the career that you've had to this point, or is this even a little bit shocking to you?
Yeah. Actually, when I had went to my first nationals, when I won my first national title in the amateurs, that's when
Mm-hmm.
I realized like, oh yeah, I could be a massive star in the sport for sure.
Okay. Now, the crazy thing about you is that you're born in Indiana, then you pretty much grew up the most of your life in Houston, and I think that's where you started falling in love with boxing. So, can you take us to that? Because obviously, Indiana is not the deepest overall state for boxing. Houston's got a lot more talent out there historically, training out there, so on and so forth. Being in Houston, growing up in that area, and you're competing out there in the amateurs, how big was that for you?
It was super big, man. It was a lot of competition just to even get out of Houston.
Right.
The time when I was boxing, you'll go through a regionals, a states, and then you make it to the nationals.
Mm-hmm.
Now a lot of guys, you can just sign up and go to nationals, but back then you had to compete and you had to fight your way to be in that spot. So, man, we was fighting. I had to fight. Sometimes I had to fight the number one guy to get out of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely difficult, just getting out of Texas. But when I did make it, man, it was a cakewalk because I already had the hard fight. So
Mm-hmm. For yourself, then, you decided to make the pro jump. Was that jump for yourself easy? Did you think it kind of came naturally? Or how did that jump from amateur to pros go for yourself?
when I turned pro, I we was talking about turning pro and got a contract introduced to us in November of 2018, I believe. I didn't
Okay.
have my first pro fight till January 2019. So it was a guy, a legendary promoter and manager. His name's Cameron Duncan. He used to manage Kelly Public, Nino
Yeah.
Donaire, Terrence Crawford at one point, Jerron Ennis. He had those guys. Brian Norman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so he signed. He gave us a contract. At the time when it was presented to us, it looked super good. But now that I look back at it, it was worth way more than the money he gave us and stuff like that. But it was the opportunity that counted, and we
Right.
made the best of it. And yeah,
As you went through that process, though, you had to go fight in Mexico for the majority of the beginning parts of your career. Can you take us to that a little bit? 'Cause I know that's got to be a little bit difficult, traveling all the way to another country, fighting out there, their style, their rules, those type of things. What was that like?
Yeah, man, it was definitely something that memories that's gonna stick with me forever. You know, just going out there traveling. You know, leaving out the country. You know, I never left out the country before. That was my first time leaving out the
Okay.
country, and you know, it was a good experience, man. Just the culture, seeing how rugged the fighters were. You know, they wasn't as skilled as us, but them guys were tough and they was hungry
Yep.
too. So you know, the food out there was good. It was just a vibe, man. It was a vibe in Mexico. But I love Mexico. One day I want to go back, man. When I win the world title, go back to
Mhm.
Piedras Negras because they love me out there, bro. They called me their adopted son of Piedras Negras when I used to fight out there. So
Okay.
yeah, it's love, bro. It's love.
So when you become world champion, we can already kind of book that in that sometime you're gonna return to Mexico then?
Yeah, definitely, bro. Definitely, man. I got good people out there. A guy, man, I forgot my brother's name, man. He used to always match make for us out there, you know. So I'm gonna go back with him and kick it with him a lot. You know how to get the belt for sure.
Love that, man. So you gotta take us to that though, because like you said, the thing about going out to Mexico is that you're going to a foreign country. And I didn't know this about you, but that was your first time ever leaving the country. It had to be a surreal experience to find foreign country and you're fighting in that foreign country too. What was that like?
Repeat it again. I'm sorry, brother. It kind of like broke down a little
Oh,
bit.
so when you talk about not only going to another country for your first time, but you're fighting in another country, different fan base, obviously they didn't know love it yet. What was that like?
Man, it was you know, when I first came, they welcomed me with open arms. You know, like
Okay.
Mexico is a boxing country, man. You know,
Right.
the Mexican fan base they love boxing. So when I came out there and I was getting the knockouts, I was getting, you know, they wanted me back all the time, and I was always fighting like in the local spots like Piedras Negras and the Cunha. So man, it was always love for me. It was always love.
As you continue to progress, then you eventually come back to the stateside. You get the OTX deal last year in December. Can you take us through how all this came to be? 'Cause I know you fought for them a couple of times, and then you eventually got the deal in December. Walk us through how all that came to be.
So what Coach Lopez told me, my trainer, my head trainer, Coach Lopez, it was a domino effect. He said it was gonna be a domino effect. We went out to Mexico, we built our record, and we came out here. I say we had our first fight out here January of 2024. No, February of 2024. We fought Wilfredo Flores. You know, they
Okay.
stuck us in there with a good opponent, so we can prove ourselves, and we conquered him. Then we had the opportunity with OTX that May. A sixth rounder. We conquered my boy Baltazar, and they wanted us back again that December for sure. And
Okay.
they had introduced the contract to me like that summer after the Baltazar fight, and we were. They said, all right, after this next fight is gonna be part of the your first fight on the contract, and when we won, we signed with them after that December.
All right. Now, OTX is a unique thing because brand new. I love the way what they're doing out there. It's obviously really nice cards. The way they've been promoting things. It's a really up and coming promotion there. As you talk about signing with them, what's it been like being a part of the OTX?
Man, it's been surreal, but they so professional in everything they do. They giving us publicity, you know. They working with us, helping us build our records, and you know they putting a lot of time and money behind us, man. It's surreal. I feel like overtime boxing is gonna be big, like Top Rank, and you
Mm.
know those big companies for sure. Man, they got a good start, and the sky's the limit for sure.
Obviously, I know you don't know the full business component there, but how big do you think they can be? Like you said top rank, but how quickly do you think it's going to take for them to be able to reach that level?
Man, not that long, man. The way they doing things, man. The way they handle their business with the fighters and the shows, man. Every show is a good show. You
Hmm.
know, it shouldn't take that long. I'll give it another 2 years, man.
I also got to ask you about your nickname, Grind Time. How did that come to be?
Um, I came up with it in the gym. You know, I was always in the gym working out, grinding. So I always be like, "Oh yeah, it's grind time." When I go to the gym, it's grind time. So it, I had created that myself. My family they took it to another level. They made it a
Mm.
chant. So they'd be like, "What time is it? Grind time. What time is it? Grind time." So yeah, they turned it up and made it lit.
Love that, man. So let's talk about your future, though, because you're 24 years old. You obviously are a guy that people are already looking at and saying, okay, you've got a bright future now. Obviously, you're going to continue to build yourself up, work your way up. But what's next for yourself? When we talk about your next fight, do we see another guy that's better than Luis Feliciano? Do we see yourself continue to work yourself up, or what's next for yourself?
Yeah, man, definitely. I wanted to get Jojo Diaz in the
Mm.
ring. Actually, this fight for Feliciano, but he said no. Like, we looking at Hector Tanahar. We looking at a lot of guys right now. Um, But I'm always looking to climb the ladder. You know,
Mm-hmm.
going down from Feliciano, it wouldn't be the route to go. I want to fight the
Right.
best fighters. I want to work on being a world champion. So we have to keep upgrading, keep upgrading, get better opponents, getting them at the right time. The right opponents at the right time.
When can we possibly see you back in the ring?
Definitely, I say the beginning of August, middle of August, I'm back in the ring for sure.
All
For
right. And are
sure.
those two guys you talked about already? Those are the guys you're kind of targeting that you'd like to go fight? Joe Diaz, Hector Garcia. Would those be the type of guys you want to go fight?
Yes, definitely, man. Hector Turner Harvard is like the biggest. How can I say it? He's closest target right now. Hector Turner
Okay.
Harvard.
Gotcha. Is there any discussion you've had with OTX yet? Is that something that could legitimately come to fruition, you believe, by August?
Yeah, definitely, man. Like I said, man, overtime boxing, they handle the boxing side of the business. They make the fights happen. We got this guy in here, Luis Feliciano, man. He was a good opponent, a good dance partner,
Right.
and they were able to get him in here. I feel like they can get anybody in the ring with me. We ask, they're gonna try their best to make things work and make it
Mm-hmm.
work for us for sure.
Now, for yourself, we know you are fighting at super lightweight, 140 right now. Is this the weight class you see yourself staying at for the foreseeable future, or do you see yourself possibly moving up to maybe 147, 154, or something like that, and that becoming your true weight class?
Yeah, man. I think 140. I'm gonna be at 140 for a long time. I've
Okay.
been at 140 since I was like 17 years old, bro, and I really don't have a problem making the weight that much.
Okay.
I feel like I feel like I'm gonna be at 140 for a long time. When I win a world title, I definitely want to move up to 47 and
Okay.
possibly 54. I think my cap would be 54. But yeah, man, I'm definitely looking forward to like looking out after I win the world title at 140.
All right, so at 140, then you have a lot of great fighters there. Obviously, there's a lot of change happening at the top of the division right now. I think Devin Haney, is going to move up. Ron Garcia, Teofimo Lopez might want to move up. So there's a lot of change happening in the division right now. But for yourself, if I were to ask you, let's say 12 to 18 months, I were to talk to you again. Where do you see yourself being? How many fights? Where do you see yourself in the rankings? Do you see yourself world champion? Like, what's the things that you see yourself being at in 12 to 18 months from now?
12 to 18 months, I definitely see myself being still undefeated,
Okay.
uh, on my verge to going to a world title fight. Being a contender status definitely in the next 12 to 18 months.
Are there any guys that you have in the back of your mind that say, that would be a guy I'd love to fight one day? Obviously, it doesn't have to be someone that's not going to happen, in August or this year, but someone that you see long term that you'd say that's a guy I want to fight.
Yeah, man, it's a lot of guys that I definitely want to have on my resume. Keyshawn Davis,
Mm.
Richard Hitchison, um, Ryan Garcia. The list goes on and on. All the big names in boxing, I want to be able to have those guys on my resume. And when I retire, they be able to say, Breyon, he fought all the best fighters on the planet and he beat them. So
When you talk about how bright your future is, I think a lot of people are starting to see the light and see how good you have a chance in the future. But how bright? If I were to ask you this question, how bright do you think your future is? How would you answer that?
man, Lord willingly, man, it's super bright. If I'm staying
Mm.
healthy, I'm healthy throughout my career because boxing is a brutal sport. Lord willing, if I'm healthy, the future's super bright. It's a lot of things and things I see myself doing and places I see myself being. So it's bright. It's definitely bright.
I do want to pick your mind a little bit on some boxing topics right now. I just talked about how 140 is changing a lot. We know Ron Garcia, Devin Haney are probably moving up, and I don't know if they're going to fight each other. Do you feel like that's the right move? Do you think they should be at 147, or do you think 140 is the right weight class for them?
I think 47 is a good weight class. They some big guys, man. They don't walk
Right.
around small. So Ryan Garcia, you could tell, he's big. He probably walks around 170, 160. So
Yeah.
I feel like 147 is like the good weight class start for both of them guys to be healthy. No excuses like on weight cut and stuff like that. So 47 is the weight for sure.
I also know that Teofimo Lopez is now being rumored to go be fighting Boots Ennis in Riyadh's season now. Who do you think? Who do you have winning that fight?
I definitely got Boots and this winning for sure. I got Boots.
All right. I also want
Yeah,
to
I
ask you
got
a couple other things, Brianna. One of those is I do know you're a believer, so I want to ask you about that a little bit. When you talk about your walk with God, man, how big has that been for you, and what led you to be vocal about your faith?
man. It's been big, man. My walk, like I let God guide my career and my life for sure. It's been a big help. I try to stay in prayer as much as possible.
Mm.
Things that I can't control, I try to give it to God, and He's been paving the way for me. And opening the doors that need to be open and at the time they need to be open. So, and I'm just super thankful. I feel super blessed, and I'm glad to be in the predicament I am right now because years back I wasn't in this predicament. And it seemed far fetched, but God kept me pushing, He kept me going, kept me on the right track. Didn't let me get sidetracked too much, and I just want to keep it going for sure.
What's the biggest moment that you've seen God show up in your life?
Whew. There's so many moments, bro. I can't even. I ain't gonna lie. I feel like the biggest one is I'll say 2020. When the pandemic hit,
Mm.
everything was so slow, man. I was so unmotivated.
Hmm.
At the time I was 5-0. 5-0 with 5 knockouts. I was shelled. I had a bad contract. I was in a bad contract. I was shelled. Wasn't getting fights, and I wanted to quit boxing at one point. I wanted to quit boxing, go get a regular job. I'm seeing all my friends, people I went to school with, they getting money, they got their jobs and things like that. And I'm praying, but I'm stuck in the gym in the same spot. I'm working towards nothing. I feel like so, but I'm still in prayer and I'm still asking God, to guide me through the things I need to get guided through because, like I said, I was unmotivated, man. And the breakthrough for me is when I got the call for my coach. He called me. He's telling me about these runs I was having that they were having in Baytown. For me to get in shape and stuff like that. Because like I said, I was unmotivated. I really went in the gym like that. And, he called me and told me about these runs they were having in Baytown. And that's when I met my coach, Coach Juan Lopez. And he
Hmm.
seen some things in me and he invested in me and he asked me if I wanted to fight. And I told him that I wanted to fight and that I wanted to be one of the best fighters in the world. And he, like I said, he invested in me the next 3 months. I said after the summer, October, November, December, he got me 3 fights in Mexico, financed them all, bro, and we traveled and we were working during the pandemic when a lot of people were sitting down. So, I feel like that was a breakthrough for me. We never got off the horse from then, never got off the horse. And I thank God for it because I wanted to quit, bro. I wanted to quit,
Mm.
but I'm glad I didn't.
Well, we got to get a little bit deeper into that, man, because that's huge for yourself. Because I just talked about the fact that, 24 years old, you've got a bright future now. You're a guy that we see in the future potentially becoming a world champion, all these different things we discussed. But yet, 4 or 5 years ago, you were considering quitting. Walk us through that
Yeah,
time in your life and just what got you through at that point where you said, you know what, you might have walked away. And I know it's easy. Obviously, boxing, you don't get a lot of money at the gate. It's very, very little money at the beginning parts of that. And you decided to say, you know what, I've got a dream of potential. I'm going to go stick with this. What kept you locked in and why did you continue to stick with boxing even when you were considering possibly leaving the sport?
I just feel like it's just was for me. It was my safe place. Even when I wasn't fighting, I just was watching boxing. Even the days I didn't feel like going to the gym, boxing was always on my mind. Even if I would go 2 weeks without going to the gym, I started mixed boxing and I'll go back for another 3, 4 days,
Mm.
another week, and things like that. So, you know, uh, I just feel like it had a big hold on me. Um, like I say, I was always in prayer, asking God to like guide me, and if it wasn't for me, like let me know it's not for me so I can go do something else. And boxing was always around there. So I feel like that was my sign, to stick around. Whether it was helping somebody else in the gym, whether it was me missing the gym, wanting to go
Mhm.
back, those different things.
So many people don't go that route. So many people are going to look at that situation when you're in your 20s, whatever it is, and you say, you know what, I want to go make money. My dreams will push away, and they give up on that. And I don't know that it was the percentages of numbers. I just know there's probably a lot of people that could have been great in the true God gifted abilities, but yet they
Yeah.
give it up for money or financial reasons or whatever it is. I'm not saying it's always a bad choice, but they give up on their dreams. What's your advice to those that are in the old situation that Breyon Gorham once was in? What's your advice to them, and what's your motivation, maybe even to them?
Man, a lot of people would say, just keep going, don't give up, and I feel like if you love something and you have a passion for something, you want to see it all the way out through the end, whether it's you got to wait 6 months or a year or 2 years. It's no time limit on things that you love or that you got a passion for. So I feel like if you chasing something and you really want something out of it, don't quit it so easy because you run into a hard spot in the road or you got to get over a hill, something like that. That's what it's always brighter on the other side, and things always better on the other side. So you just got to keep going. You got to push through because all the great things in life, the most valuable things in life, you gotta go through some type of sacrifice. You
Mm.
gotta go through some type of problems. So I feel like, yeah, man, just once you get past that, the you unlock something different.
Mm. When for you did you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel? Were you? I know you said obviously that you got involved with coach and trainers, all this stuff started happening for yourself. But when did you see the light in the tunnel? This wasn't just gonna be that work in progress. You actually started seeing the light in the tunnel, and you kind of decide, you know what? I see myself. I feel I'm in a comfortable position now where I see the future. When was that for you?
I feel like it was just coach getting me the fights,
Okay.
me getting the confidence from the fights.
Okay.
Coach
Hmm.
continuously putting in our heads, that we can be this and that we can be that, and that we're no different than the guys at the top. That we got the skills, that we got the goods to be, the best fighters on the planet. He always instilled that in us and always talked to us about it. So I'm seeing it in the fights. I'm winning the fights. I feel like I'm getting better every training camp. And it made me excited for the future. It made me want to keep going. It made me want to, keep fighting. And the biggest part, I feel like the biggest moment in time is when he told me like, oh yeah, this is gonna be the last fight in Mexico. We're going to the U.S. So
Mm.
now I get to fight in front of my family and friends and things like that. After like years, they've been asking me, oh yeah, like when you gonna fight in Houston? When you gonna fight at home?
Right.
So now is the time, and I feel like that was the breaking point for me that made me feel like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go all the way.
Absolutely, man. Well, Brian, I got one final question for you. It's the question like wrapping up every single interview with, and I was talking about your legacy. I know you got a long, long career in front of you, God willing, but when that day does come to a conclusion, you put down the gloves. What is it that you want to be remembered for? What do you want your legacy to be for what you've accomplished both inside and outside of the ring?
Man, inside the ring, I want everybody to remember me as a class act in the ring. A dominant force in the ring. Something like a Mike Tyson or Floyd Mayweather.
Mm-hmm.
Leave that type of legacy in the ring. Outside the ring, that I'm a humble person. I worked hard. And that you stand committed to something that you want and dedicate something that you want, that you can take it to heights that nobody could believe that you made it to. I want people to look at my story and be motivated to go get whatever they want to get in life. And to keep God first through it all, because without Him, you have no guidance for real. You so lost out
Yep.
here, and whatever we do, I try not to get lost in the sauce. I like to say, I
Yep.
like God to lead everything for me, man, and you know, uh, I'm just along for the ride. Like I say, I'm along for the ride and just enjoying every part of it for sure. Everybody else should do the same.
Amen, man. I absolutely love that answer, man. Well, Breon, congratulations on the big win last week again. I appreciate you taking time to come on today, and I can't wait to see what God's got next for you, man.
Man, I'm thankful for you, brother. Appreciate you, Zach, man, for having me on, man. Shout out to you, brother, for sure.
Of course, man. You're always welcome on. Hopefully we can do this again some other time, man.
Yeah, bro, I'm down anytime, brother.
All right, for sure, man. We'll see you next time, man. God bless.
Hey, God bless you too, bro. Thank you again, bro.
Yep. See you, man.
All right.
I appreciate everyone for tuning into the interview. Once this show is done, I'll get it clipped up, edited out, and posted so everyone else can go see it separately. I'm going to go on a short break, and then we'll get into my next interview with my next guest very shortly. See you guys shortly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. I'm your host, Zach SchuZ Shoemaker. Joining me now is a man that has a 22-1 record with 12 KOs on his resume. He's also the number 7 ranked IBF featherweight in the world. He goes by the nickname The Beast, and he's coming off a big win over Rudy Garcia just a couple weeks ago. That's Aleem. Reese, appreciate the time to come on today, man.
Yeah, hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, first things first, I know we were just talking backstage for a few moments there, but you obviously are coming off a big win. Now you've been able to dissect it a little bit, reflect on the win. What's your thoughts on that couple weeks removed from the fight?
I didn't perform to my expectations, you know what I'm saying, like
Okay.
to my standards. But at the end of the day, I got the job done. And
Right.
that's what it's all about. It's about finding a way to win, keep pushing forward, push the bar, kick the motherfucking bar forward, and see what's next.
Now, that was still a pretty good performance overall. 99-91 on the scorecards, 97-93, 98-92 overall. It was still good, but you said it wasn't the best of your ability right there. Why do you say that?
I mean, I'm not competing at my absolute best. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I want to fight somebody who's gonna bring the absolute best out of me, which is a Angelo Leo, a Espinoza.
Yep.
And Rudy Garcia. Shout out to him. Good fighter, tough. And I put so much into each and every fucking performance, the training camp, everything leading up to it. So when I don't perform to my standards, it's like fuck. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
It's just that warrior underdog mindset.
I do like that because I feel like you said that you pretty much want to rise to the occasion. When you have a guy that's going to be a potential world champion, or at least somebody's really high up, then Rudy Garcia, like you said, a good fighter, but there's obviously a little bit levels to this thing overall. And so when you look at that, you seem to say that, you want one of those guys, Angelo Leo, one of those top ranked guys. Maybe even Bruce Carrington might be on your radar. I'm not sure about that. But when you talk about those guys, what about that rises your, like, what about that kind of changes the way you perceive a fight when you realize that it's up against one of those type of guys?
I mean, it's just you wake up every morning looking forward to fucking war. You know what I'm
All right.
saying? Because you know the man standing on the other side looking at you in your motherfucking eyes is trying to take your head off, and he's a champ, or like he's that guy. So that just
Right.
makes you want to overcome even more, especially when you've always been an underdog. I'm representing all the underdogs in the sport of boxing who've been overlooked, underappreciated, taken for granted. But each and every motherfucking opportunity Raees Aleem had, I surpassed. You know.
Mm. As you go forward now, I know we were talking a little bit before him, but when can we see you back in the ring? Is there something we could see you soon?
That's what it sounded like. For the first time in my career, it sounded like I'm gonna be a little bit more active. It
All right.
sounded like July 26th, the last
Sure.
show Top Rank has with ESPN.
Now that's gonna be a quick recovery for yourself and turnaround there overall. Is that exciting for yourself? Like you said, I know you've had a lot of inactivity throughout your career. How exciting is it to get right back into the ring that quickly?
I mean, it's exciting, and at the same time, I'm like, I know what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? I can't really take time to chill. You know what I'm saying? I gotta
Yeah.
hop back on the grind. But this is what I do. This is like what I've dedicated my whole adult life to.
Mhm.
So I want to fight the best of the best, and if I can fight in July, great. I hope it's a big fight because I'm chasing that world title fight. So we'll see what's up.
Who are some possible guys? Have you talked to? I'm sure, like you said, maybe the date's kind of ideally pushed right there. Is there something that could be possible on the table for that fight?
I mean, we'll see what's up. They haven't given me any names. I know
All right.
SchuZ already fought, and then I fought, so that does make sense for us to fight in July. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
last um show for Top Rank with ESPN, so
Yep.
like we
Hopefully
can
top
really
rank.
make some shit pop.
Yep.
I'd love to put his name on my resume, and with a win count next to me. Espinoza, I don't see that happening in July,
Yeah.
or the Angelo Leo fight because just the time frame.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
we'll see what's up. At the end of the day, I'm gonna show up, and
Mhm.
clean fight, ugly fight, dog fight. I don't give a fuck. That's the sport of boxing. You gotta
Mhm.
win. So.
I know you just kind of looked at it and said, obviously, some of the champions probably don't make a lot of sense that would be reasonable within underneath the top ranked branch. So, out of anybody that's realistic, Bruce Carrington's obviously one of those. Would Bruce Carrington be the guy that you'd most likely want to fight if you could pick anybody that's realistic right now?
Yeah, 100%. You know,
Okay.
we can do a world title eliminator fight like
Yeah.
yesterday. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense boxing wise, business wise. The fight in itself just makes sense.
How do you see that fight panning out if you guys do fight?
He's a great fighter.
Right.
Sharp, good on his feet, uh, uh, great timing. But overall, I see me coming out on top of that fight. You look at his resume, and he fought that southpaw, which was a good fucking fight.
Yeah.
That I feel like that was a coin flip. He maybe had the edge a little bit, but that was a good fight. Besides that, who's he really fought? He's calling out all these motherfucking champs. Ain't nobody call him out, but hey, what's up? Aleem is that 126. Come see me.
All right.
You think you can beat me? Come see me.
All right.
You
I
know
like
what I'm
that, man.
saying? Let's make this shit happen, because he can't do it, especially if it's a 12 round fight. Nah, not if it's a 12 round fight for sure.
Do you think you guys could get the fight done at 12 rounds?
What's that?
Do you think you guys can make the fight a 12-round fight for that fight?
Well, it'd either be a title fight or a
Yeah.
world title eliminator fight. If
Good point.
if Fulton's gonna move up to 130, there's gonna be some open belts. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So why not?
Yep.
That's a world title fight in the making right now. It's
Agree.
just we'll see. And if not, he's calling out all the champs, and I'm calling out him and the champs. So
Mhm.
me and him can fight a title eliminator, which I swear I've done had about 3, 4 of those, and they never got my shot. But
Yeah.
at least I'll have him on my fucking resume. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see.
Fair enough. We look at yourself, and obviously you're 34 years old at this point in time. Obviously, you still have some good years left in yourself. But if I were to ask you, let's look 12, 18 months down the road, where do you see yourself? What do you see yourself accomplishing within the next year, year and a half?
You know, um, it's really hard to say. Just staying on the grind and just elevating.
Hmm.
Obviously I want that world title shot. I want to win the world title. I'd
Right.
say the next two fights could be that big one. But we'll see. I just see me continuing to elevate, continuing to surprise a lot of people, because that's literally all I've done my whole career. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? I came from a small town in Muskegon, Michigan. I was never fed a fucking golden spoon and had opportunity after opportunity. Like, all these motherfucking underdog fighters know exactly what I mean. Like, there's
Hmm.
great fighters out there, better than the world champions, who never could get that opportunity. They couldn't stay strong enough, long enough to fucking, get there. And
Right.
that's life, you know.
Can you go break that down a little bit more? Because I feel like that's such a true statement you just made right there. There's so many underdogs, and it's such a crazy sport because you look at boxing, it's a worldwide sport. There's
Yeah,
underdogs all the way out in Japan. You got them in Europe. You got them in America. You got them in Mexico. You got them all over
everywhere.
the place. And it's tough. I mean, at the same time, I get it. Can a promoter, can people watch every single corner of the world? It's very, very tough to cover that. But therefore, because of that situation, you have so many underdog stories. When you talk about you being a success story out of those underdog stories, how have you been able to persevere? How have you become a guy that still, even though it's been difficult, reached the levels you've reached?
With boxing, it's crazy, because it's like there's the ups is fucking up. It's high
Yeah.
as hell. But the downs are is down as fuck, so like mental health is real.
Mm.
Like I said, I put so much into each and every fucking fight, but when a fight gets canceled or this and that, it's like Jenga. Everything comes crashing down. You get
Yep.
depressed, you can't get out of bed, like you get dressed, you're ready to go to the gym, but you sit the fuck down and you can't go to the gym. You know what? Hey, look,
Mm.
I'm gonna pop a bottle. I'm gonna call a little, I'm gonna call a little chick over and just kick it. You know what I'm saying? Or been there, done that. It's
Mhm.
you know, it's crazy, but you got these fighters out here, opportunity after opportunity, like everything. But that's life. It's the hands you're dealt, and you just got to stay on your path. So that's all that I did. I just stayed on my path. I took the keys to my life and my career, and
Mm.
I just said, "Hey, at the end of the day, I'm gonna look in the fucking mirror. and smile no matter what happens and say, I did it the way I wanted to do it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I told myself a long time ago, I'm not going to lie to myself when it comes to the sport of boxing because this is the hardest sport in the fucking world. You know what I'm saying? It's so I'm not gonna lie to myself, and yeah, just sacrifice, keep pushing forward, grinding in the dark. It's not what you have to do; it's what's required.
Mm-hmm.
You know, winning takes absolutely everything, and ain't nothing guaranteed.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what it is. That's what you signed up for.
You know, something I love about boxing is that it's such a representation of life overall. When you talk about getting knocked down, having to put yourself back up, some people are dealt more than other people. Some people have to grind their way through life, whether that be outside of a sport, that could be in the business world, that could be whatever world you're talking
Right,
about.
100%.
I don't think any other sport represents life the way that boxing does. And you just talk about that. And so for you, you're going through life at the same time as you're going through your boxing career. How has boxing, the ups and downs of boxing, helped you as a man, as a person grow outside of the ring?
Man, tremendously, because it's like if you take the same philosophy of preparing for a fight,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a firefighter, you know, you take the same philosophy to when you're training for a fight, the sacrifices,
Yep.
the celibacy, you know what I'm saying, for X amount of time, or this and that, they're not drinking, this, like everything. If you take that model to waking up at 4 a.m., 2 a days, 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
consistently, you know,
Right.
because
Right.
this ain't like you just do it for 2 weeks. I'm talking about 6 months. You know what I'm saying? If
Mm-hmm.
you apply that to becoming a firefighter, a police officer, a doctor, a lawyer, we need all that shit in society.
Yep.
You know, so you may not become a world champion. You may not get that opportunity, but you can apply everything that boxing taught you to still live a great civilian life.
Mm-hmm. 100% agreement. Well, you've got quite the story, and we've already just kind of just barely tipped the iceberg right now. And I want to get into a little bit more for people that's listening. So, you grew up out there in Michigan. Was boxing the sport that you knew you wanted to do? Was this something that came along later in life, or when did boxing meet you and kind of become the sport you love?
Well, I've been athletically on my feet since the age of 3.
All
I
right.
was in the karate gym. You know, I played some basketball, played football. I got my black belt in karate when I was 12 to 13.
Mm-hmm.
Started boxing when I was 14. You know, and I just stuck with it. I was naturally good because I already knew how to fight. And, you know, going to different states, the nationals and here and there, it was pretty dope. So it's like, hey, yo, I'm from a small town, Muskegon, Michigan, and I get to go to Chattanooga, Tennessee to the Nationals and fight somebody for free. Like, what's up? Like, yo, sign me up. I like
Yep.
that, you know. You know, so that was just one thing. But I got to experience a lot of life through boxing, and you know, I'm blessed because of that.
As you were progressing in this career, like I said, I'll go backtrack a little bit. You talked about karate first of all, and that was something you pursued. Obviously, you became a black belt, and then I believe you met your trainer Terry Markowski then, and when you were 12 or 13, and you made that shift over to the boxing landscape. What led to that? Why did you decide to say karate? I'm going to be done with you for now. I'm ready to move on to something else. Why was that?
Well, after I got my black belt, it was kind of like, what's next? You know, I was
Fair enough.
only a first degree black belt. You know, there is more levels you can step up,
Good point. You're right. Yep.
but it was kind of like, what's next? So my dad took me to the boxing gym, and I sparred this kid named Perez. He was the best out of the little kids. Beat the shit out of him, and that got the attention of Terry Markowski, who's my father figure,
Mm,
and he took an interest in me, and he just taught me the basics. But he would go out of his way 25, 30 minutes to pick me up, take me to the boxing gym, and drop me off when
wow.
my dad couldn't do it because he had shit 6, 7, 8, 9 other kids at the crib.
Sure.
Life is life. But Terry would, you know, he'd pick me up, take me to the Muskegon gym. We'd go 45 minutes to an hour to Grand Rapids and spar and train. And, you know, we'd go to Chicago, we'd go to Ohio. You
Mm.
know, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Terry Markowski, you know, and shit. That's the power of just caring about just caring.
There's so many people you hear that have successful stories. Then, obviously, coming from a good background, having family, mom and dad's always key. But when people seem to have a different kind of story, when you have somebody from another life outside of you that you obviously had no inclination to ever meet each other, but then that person comes into somebody's life and it just turns their lives around. Just those good human beings. It seems like he's one of those guys for you. How big has that been just to have somebody that, if you guys didn't cross paths, maybe never would have known him in your life, yet he becomes this, like you said, father figure in your life? How big has that been for you?
Oh, it's been tremendous. That's actually dictated a lot of the things that I did.
Mm,
It was like I don't want to just win for me because I have somebody who has never asked for anything, but has
mhm.
always helped me and has always been there, and I don't fucking know why.
Yeah.
Like I'm the closest thing he has. Uh, to a kid, to a son, because he doesn't have any kids, but
Okay.
he was a coach, he was helping kids and this and that. But I mean, at a certain point in time, it was like I'm not just doing this for me, I'm doing this for Terry too, like I got people that believe in me, that's helped me. When you come from nothing, when you've been an underdog and you have one person who just says you can do it, what the
Mhm.
fuck? Why can't you? You
Right.
know, you may not be that guy who has the super big entourage and everybody fucking believes in and this and that. Hey, that's life.
Right.
Maybe you weren't dealt that hand, but what are you gonna do about it? You gonna fucking
Mhm.
cry? Or you gonna bite down on the mouthpiece and find the fucking way?
What's huge about that is, like you said, I know some people have the entourage, but you hear so often that just because you have an entourage doesn't mean those people are always going to be there with you. A lot of the time, those
Oh fuck
entourage are
no.
there because of who you are. When you
Yeah.
have that person that identifies you before you're this, that, and the third, before you're a guy with a 22-1 record or 12 KO type of guy, and he buys into you at that younger an age, how critical is it to have that true person, that person that's going to be ride or die with you no matter what happens, the wins, highs, or lows? How important is that for a boxer, but even anybody going through life to have in their life?
That's all that matters.
Mm,
To know that there's somebody in your corner who truly loves you without wanting anything in return. Win, lose, draw, at the top, at the bottom, in between.
yep.
That's all that matters. And the thing is, family can be the worst ones that can pull you down. Even Stephen Fulton, he came out and said after he lost to Inoue, oh, his mom, oh well, there goes my house or whatever the fuck. That's like damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And shout out to Stephen Fulton, great fighter. Life is life. That's fucked up. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I also want to get into a little bit deeper that amateur career for yourself. You ended up going 59-10, if I'm not mistaken, in your amateur run. Then was it a little bit more than that?
Yeah, I was like yeah, 65 and I think yeah, like 65 and 10. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha, for sure. That's what Bachtreks had, so I wasn't quite sure on that one. But
Yeah.
so you end up having that career in amateur, obviously a pretty solid overall career. Then you make the transition to becoming a pro at 20. What led to that transition? Was that transition easy for yourself?
Yeah, I didn't think it was anything. The hardest part was getting fights.
Yeah.
That was it. You
Okay.
know.
As you made that transition then to the pro ranks, and like you said, the toughest thing then is trying to find your way in this business, trying to find your way to become successful, get the fights lined up. When did you start to feel like things were settling down? You felt like you got in a safer place. You almost had the light at the end of the tunnel. When did you feel like you started getting a little more comfortable with the pro ranks?
That's when I took the keys to my life and my career.
Okay.
And I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada. No family, no friends, just me pursuing my career, trying to be somebody. I didn't
Mm,
have a coach set up. I didn't have a gym set up. Fuck all that. I'm gonna make it happen.
yeah.
And that's what I did. And shout out to Marshall Kaufman and King's Promotion. I fought one of his fighters who was 8-0 with 8 knockouts. And in order for me to get that fight, I had to sign. Business is business, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So I got that opportunity, dominated, dropped him in the first round. 10, 15 more seconds, I stop him in the last round. And that started the domino effect. Like out of
Mm,
the next shit, I don't know, 7 fights, I stopped everybody.
hmm.
I was on a fucking roll, and I was doing me. I've listened to managers, trainers, promoters, and that had me sitting on the fucking shelf depressed, down and out, seeing all my peers, everybody around me moving and fighting, and I'm grinding in the gym, and I can't get a
Hmm.
fight to save my life. And the moment I take the keys, aka control of my life and career, all of a
Mm.
sudden, boom, 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 boom. So motherfuckers who really know me and see me in the gym, the fitness gym, on the street or whatever, know I'm really doing this shit by myself. Like I'm on my program. Like any coach I fuck with, you're on my program because this is my life. When I look in the mirror, I'm gonna fucking smile no matter what. I'm not gonna point the finger and blame anybody. I can't do it. I'd rather fucking just quit. Fuck that.
I love that mentality because I feel like that's something that's been lost so much in society today, where some people want to go point the finger and blame other people. And at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you can do that, sure, but it's not going to lead to results. You're not going to improve yourself. You're only going to get yourself put in a hole that's never going to get yourself out of there. That's not the mentality you had. You wanted to go out there and say, I'm going to take the blame, whether it's my fault or not. I'm going to make things happen. And you did that. And I actually just had somebody on a couple of days ago that had a similar story. Moved out when he was 19 to Los Angeles and built himself up. There seems to be something special that when you put pressure on yourself and you say, this is all I got, I'm going to go make it happen, things seem to work out that way. Why do you think that is?
I mean, it's like the expression burn the boats. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? You burn the boats, you what the fuck you got no choice but to take the island.
Right?
You know what I'm saying? And unless you're just not built like that and you're willing to just curl up and die. But
Yeah.
everybody who steps in the ring is a fucking warrior. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter how good you are, you're fucking brave enough to step in there. You can take the fucking island. But what are you willing to do? Yeah, you gotta
Mm-hmm.
be willing to do what it fucking takes.
Right,
So,
right. Now, another huge part about you, though, is that as you continue to progress, then you start to get the spotlight on you. You start building your way up in all these different aspects. But I have to ask you, if I were to go back and tell the 20, 21-year-old Reese that you're going to be a guy that has lived out the career you've lived out to this point, would that be shocking, or was it something that you always expected, or did you expect even more from your career?
I'd be disappointed,
Really?
honestly.
Okay.
From a young age, like, I'm sparring all these guys, these pros or these top guys, this and that, and I'm like, fuck, I'm beating the shit out of you just in sparring. Like, all I need is a chance and an opportunity, and I can never fucking get it.
Mm,
But the fact that I've won what 3, 4 title eliminator fights and still haven't really had my world title shot, it's kind of depressing. But that's boxing. There's been a lot of fighters in way worse positions than me, and I realize that, I recognize that. But I wouldn't be satisfied.
okay.
And that's the underdog mindset. It's never good enough. You're always kicking the bar, you're always pushing further and further. But I'd be like happy to know it's like, okay, like what I think is manifesting, but at the same time, I'm still not where I'm at
Mm. So it's
or
more so
where I
you'd say
want
for
to be at or
yourself.
whatever.
Yeah, so it's more so for yourself. You say it's almost like unfinished business. You're okay with what's happened so far, but you have unfinished business that you're not ready to give up on yet.
Yeah, and I still
All
haven't
right.
fought to my full potential. I feel like in
Mm,
order for that to happen, I have to get in with a SchuZ Carrington,
mhm,
Espinoza, Angelo Leo. I won all these fucking fights, and the thing that's holding that fight up, it's not me.
mm,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So we'll see what happens. They got to keep winning. I got to keep winning. And at some point in time, I'm gonna get in a position to where I'm a mandatory,
yeah.
and that's
You
it.
said you haven't reached your full potential yet. What is the full potential of Reese Aleem?
Well, it's just been a number of factors. The problem is if you talk about it, it starts sounding like a fucking excuse. Like I
Sure.
have a
Good
sleep
point.
disorder. And like before my last fight, I had 3 hours of fucking sleep. Like it
Really?
wasn't
Wow.
anxiety, but your mind is quiet, but your body just won't go to sleep. You toss, you turn, you get up, you're tired. But who fucking cares? It doesn't
Right.
matter. When you step in the ring, you're expected to compete at a high level. One off day, you get knocked out, you get hurt, you get embarrassed, or you just fucking lose.
Hmm.
So you don't talk about it. You bite down on your fucking mouthpiece, and you find a way. That's what it is.
You know, that you had one fight I want to get into, and obviously it's your loss you had against Sam Goodman there, and it was a very, very close fight. When you look it back, I think very well could have been a draw in that fight, to be honest. I think you guys were neck and neck in that one. When you look back at that performance, how do you view and how do you think you did in that night?
Sam Goodman, solid fighter. I thought I did good enough to win.
Okay.
The problem is when you're fighting another country, I didn't
Yeah.
stop him, I didn't drop him. There's that, but again, you're in another country, you fight a 12 round, 3-2 split. I fight that fight here, I get the fair judgment. It is what it is, but
Yeah.
you know. Oh, I pushed for the rematch.
Okay.
I tried to talk to their people, PBC, everything to make it happen, but there is nah. You know how that goes. Too much of a risk.
For yourself, that was actually my follow-up question of the rematch aspect. Obviously, you're fighting 126, and I know he just had a fight just on Wednesday, which I didn't even know about until obviously it happened, but he fought on Wednesday. 122 is his weight class. Would you ever consider going down? Could you even go down to make that rematch?
Honestly, it's like, hey, I'm having a hard time making 26. I'm like,
Okay.
damn, I don't even know how I was making 22. You know what I'm saying? Like,
All right.
but like, I can't wait to move up to 130. At some point in
Okay.
time, that's just gonna happen. But
Yeah.
I have to accomplish what's in here before I can do that. Meaning I
Okay.
got to get that world title shot. I got to win, defend, and then I can
Sure.
start exploring that shit.
So 122 is pretty much off the gates. The only way the rematch ever happens would be if he came up to 126 then.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to have a lot of time and still probably wouldn't really be able to make it.
All right.
So
You also say the other part that 130 or 126 is even difficult. So 130 could be in your future someday. Is that something that you legitimately could see happening within the next year, 2 years, or when do you see it possibly going up to 130?
yeah, within the next 2 years, yeah, I
Okay.
can see that. Especially, I get that world title shot. I fight, win, defend. Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. I also have a few other things before I let you go, Reese. One of which is that going back to most recent fight against Rudy Garcia, it was on a great card. The card that, in my opinion, saved the weekend overall, the Inoue card. And that card from
Mhm.
top to bottom was great to watch. That was actually a lot of fun. So I got to get into that, though, because you're fighting T-Mobile Arena, great venue, an incredible place to fight in, great atmosphere. When you talk about just being a part of a card that was of that magnitude, what was that like?
It was great. Shout out to Top Rank, Bob Arum, Brad Goodman, give me the opportunity to showcase my skills and just to get back in the ring.
Right.
But it was great. The fans were great, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I just wish I was the main event.
All right, fair enough, man. So I know when you talk about the main event, there was Inoue. That was the guy that Sam Goodman fight that hypothetically could have resulted and led to a championship fight against Inoue. Obviously, Goodman had his injuries, so never ended up coming to fruition there. And the rumor is that Inoue will move up to 126 by the end of this year, potentially even. And obviously, you'd have to go win your fight, get the SchuZ fight, whatever it is to get to that point. But is that the guy? I know you were calling him out a few years ago that you would love to fight if that opportunity ever came to fruition.
Of course, 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
It's a guy who's been knocked down twice in the second round and what, two consecutive fights. But really, even besides that, yeah, he's a fighter that's viewed as one of the greats, and he is a great fighter. So
Right.
every fighter should have him number one on their fucking hit list. Otherwise, they're just a cherry picking ass bitch who should step a fucking side and let the real dogs fight. Because there's a lot of fighters like that. Espinoza, it was between me and Vasquez.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the fans don't really understand. The champ can choose who he wants to fight.
Yeah.
It could have been me and Espinoza. He didn't choose me, but
Mm.
that is what it is.
No, give us a little bit of detail into that aspect because obviously, I mean, Vasquez held his own. He was fine for the rounds he lasted there, but you obviously could have very well been in that case right there. What happened there? How did that fight come to fruition? How close did it ever come for you stepping up and being able to fight in that fight?
Oh, well, I mean, they told me to prepare for it. They
Really?
told me to
Okay.
prepare for it, and it's between me and Vasquez. Well, at first, they just said prepare for it. And then after a few
Gotcha.
weeks, they're like, okay, it's between you and Vasquez.
Mm,
If he doesn't choose you or Vasquez, then he's not fighting. Okay, he
mm,
might not choose Vasquez, blah, blah, blah. He chooses Vasquez, boom. And that is what it
okay.
is. And, I get Rudy Garcia, but it's not like this is the guy that I was training
Makes sense.
for 6 weeks or whatever.
Okay.
That's not the case.
Is that a fight you could see coming to fruition down the road with Espinoza?
Yeah, 100%. You know, if he doesn't move up to 130, like, you know, everybody, you know, he's on everybody's hit list.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the in-weight component one real quickly. I know obviously I said move him to 126 is on the table for himself. Do you think he's ready for that jump, or do you think he should stay at 122?
I mean, coming to 26.
All right.
You know, I mean, hey, they hit harder, they're bigger, your power
Mm-hmm.
has to transfer over. You know, he's a great fighter. He'll do
Yeah.
great at 26, but come to 26, let's see what's up.
Absolutely, man. Well, I got a couple things before I let you go, Reese. One of which is something I want to actually start off with in the beginning, but that was the Beast is your nickname. How did that come to be? Where did you get the Beast nickname from?
Well, just over the years, you know, just training in different gyms, you know, Chicago, Ohio, and then Muskegon and Grand Rapids. People, oh man, hey, that guy's a beast. And one day Terry, he was like, Raíz the Beast, and it just
Okay.
stuck.
Love that, man. Well, Reese, I got one final question for you. It's the question I like wrapping up every single interview with is talking about your legacy. One day you're going to step away from boxing, move away from the sport. When that day comes, what do you want to be remembered for what you've accomplished both inside and outside of the ring?
You know, I will not retire until I do become a solidified world champion, meaning I've won the world title, I've defended the world title, whether it's at one weight class, two weight classes, whatever. But ultimately, I want to be known as a dog. I
Mm,
want to fight the best. I'm not cherry
right.
picking and it's like, oh, well, I'll fight him because it's the easier fight versus him. I want to fight the best. That's why I'm in the sport of boxing. You
Right,
know,
right.
that's why I've been able to do this shit for so long at a high fucking level is because, hey, I'm not afraid to fight the best.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I want to be remembered for.
I love it, man. Well, Reese, I appreciate taking time to come on in, man. I can't wait to see what God's got next for you, man.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate you, and can't wait to get back in the ring.
Absolutely, man. Can't wait to look to see you back in the ring as well. You're always welcome on, man. God bless.
All right, all right. Thank you.
Sounds good, man. See ya.
All right.
I appreciate everyone for tuning into that interview. I'll get that clipped up, edited out on my YouTube channel as soon as the show is finished up. I'll see you guys very soon. I'm going to go a quick break, then we're going to get into some boxing topics. See you guys shortly. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. I'm your host, Zach SchuZ Shoemaker. It's time to get into some boxing topics. So, we're going to get through some things right now. First up, we're going to get into a fight recap of something that happened just a couple of hours ago. Then we're hopping to fight previews for what's going to come up tomorrow and this weekend in fights. And then get into some boxing news. So, with that being said, let's hop right into the fight recap. Darren Till defeats Darren Stewart by unanimous decision. The scorecards read this: 77-74, 77-74, 77-73 in the Misfits boxing matchup between the two former UFC fighters. Till dropped Stewart twice in round one and also with the final punch of the fight. Obviously, this is just a fight I want to recap because it was noteworthy. Is Darren Till that legitimate guy? No, but is he somebody that you could see fight one of those other celebrity guys in the Misfits branch? Absolutely. So it was interesting. It was an entertaining fight, solid fight. That's all I'm going to say about that one, though. Let's get into some fight previews, though, heading into what's going to happen tomorrow. Overall, it is a pretty dry week of boxing, to be honest. There are some interesting fights, and for those that love boxing, there's still boxing, so it's good to watch that. So let's hop into the main event for tomorrow. Johnny Fisher versus Dave Allen 2, a heavyweight rematch between the two guys. Johnny Fisher is undefeated with 11 KOs. However, those of us that are well aware know that this is a rematch that has quite a bit of controversy behind it. Johnny Fisher is undefeated, yet that is certainly debatable based upon the performance he had in his previous fight. Whereas Dave Allen is a record of 23-7-2 with 18 KOs. This is a fight that I believe Johnny Fisher will come out victorious in. I think he's going to win by decision. I think it's going to be a competitive fight. He is much younger, and I do believe this. Johnny Fisher is a guy that we already see him being on the top 15 of the commissioner boards in the top 15 rankings right now, heavyweight. He is a guy that is talented. Do I think maybe he's a little bit overhyped? Possibly. However, the first fight, I don't think he was ready for that stage or that level. I think what we're going to see in the second fight is a much more focused and locked-in Johnny Fisher who will come out victorious against Dave Allen tomorrow in the heavyweight fight. Overall, Dave Allen is a very experienced veteran fighter, though. We know he's very durable, crafty, strong inside game. He is a good fighter. But I just believe that the fight tomorrow is going to go in the favor of the rightful favor, I should say, of Johnny Fisher. And I think he's going to emerge himself victorious, very similar to the way we saw Ben Whittaker. Maybe not similar to the way that Ben Whittaker finished Liam Cameron, but still a controversial fight between a young British rising star. And I think Johnny Fisher will do the job just fine tomorrow against Dave Allen. Let's go to the co-main event. This one will be interesting. Kieran Conway versus Jerome Warburton for the vacant British middleweight title. Conway is 22-3 and won his record with 6 KOs. I think he's going to cruise past his victory by decision. I think his experience will help him out. I think he's going to be a much better fighter. He's a superior fighter. I think this will set up a fight that is going to be quite simple, to be honest. I don't see there being much competition for Kieran Conway. I think this is going to be a very easy win for him. Now, anything can happen in boxing, but I do believe Kieran Conway comes out victorious. Why do I mention this fight and the fight I'm going to mention too with George Ladard, who was on the show just 1 week ago? Because this sets up actually a big fight for the British middleweight title in later this year. I think August, when Eddie Hearn said it will be. Because the fight right before the Kieran Conway fight is George Ladard versus Aaron Sutton. George Ladard is 11-0 with 6 KOs. He is a rising British star. I think he's going to be a phenomenal British fighter in the future. I think he's going to be one of the future faces of the British fighters. And that is a fight that Eddie Hearn's already decided that if George Ladard comes out victorious in that fight, he will then move on to fight for the British middleweight title against Kieran Conway. Well, most likely against Kieran Conway. Whoever wins the Kieran Conway versus Jerome Warburton fight. And that's why I mentioned those two points there. Because if both guys have dominant performances, you can already start the hyping up process and building process for what would be a big fight for the British middleweight title, or the defense, therefore, for Kieran Conway. But I think both guys to keep an eye on. Also, we have two other guys. I'm not going to break down the fights too much, but Jimmy Sains and Taylor Bevan, both guys are fighters who I believe are going to be very, very bright futures. This is a lot of guys you're going to see have young, up-and-coming future prospects in Britain. This is going to be that type of card for tomorrow. And so both for Jimmy Sains and Taylor Bevan, I think both guys come out victorious. I think both guys continue to rise up the young prospect rankings. And so I think look for two guys to have wins there. I'm excited to see how they look, though, because they are two great rising prospects. Then let's go to Saturday night prime time in America. Sergey Boachuk versus Fox fight card. This will be a 360 Promotions card on UFC Fight Pass. On this card, Sergey Boachuk versus Mikael Fox. I think it's quite obvious Boachuk's going to go out there and win by late stoppage. He is a very, very good fighter. People always need to remember what he did against Virgil Ortiz. And I had Tom Loeffler on last week. He talked about the fact that, listen, he believes that Sergey Boachuk is the best fighter at 154. I respectfully do disagree on that statement there because I think 154 stacked. He's not better than Bud Crawford to begin with. And I think also Virgil Ortiz did win that fight, although it's debatable. And also I think when you talk about another guy at 154 and Bakhram Murzavaliev, I think those are the three superior guys. But Boachuk certainly does have a right to that claim. He also has the right to be able to say those statements there. So Sergey Boachuk, Michael Fox, both guys are solid, but Boachuk's superior to Michael Fox by a lot. I think it's just going to be too much for Fox. I think Boachuk's going to work him down, get an early KO, and take care of business in that fight. The co-main event there, Omar Trinidad versus Alexander Espinoza. Quick little insight, Trinidad will be on the show very, very shortly. But this is for a featherweight battle. Trinidad's 18-0-1 with 13 KOs. Espinoza's 23-6-3 with 8 KOs. This is going to be for the WBC Continental Americas title. I think Trinidad's going to win by mid-round knockout. Omar Trinidad is a problem. He's a guy that is one of the top guys at 126. He is a legitimate threat, and I don't think that Espinoza is going to pose a factor to him at all. I see an early stoppage, whether that be around 3 to 6, somewhere in that range. We're going to see Trinidad, or we're going to see Espinoza go out. That's what I've got for the fight previews. Like I said, not a very big weekend of fights, but fights nonetheless. So we'll get into that and break them all down on Monday. Let's head over, though, to some boxing news that's come out recently over the past 24 hours. Eddie Hearn is now open to negotiating a fight between Callum Smith and David Benavidez. I have said this time and time again. The fight to make, outside of course, Bivol Beterbiev, is Benavidez versus Callum Smith. That fight has to happen. That is the second best fight you could possibly make at light heavyweight. Obviously, if you want to go out and say the winner of Beterbiev Bivol versus Benavidez, of course, that's the better one. But out of right now, not including Bivol Benavidez, or Beterbiev, I think it's Benavidez versus Callum Smith. Exceptional fight. I do favor David Benavidez in that fight, but I think that's a great test for David Benavidez to get him ready for the winner of Bivol versus Beterbiev. So that's what I have in store for there. I think that's exactly the fight that they need to make there for Eddie Hearn to go make and to get that deal locked in. Now, the Hitchens versus Kambosos card has been now confirmed. Let me read it off for you guys. Richardson Hitchens versus George Kambosos, the main event for the IBF Super Lightweight World Title. Andy Cruz versus Mishiro for the IBF Lightweight Title Final Eliminator. Then Tito Mercado versus Jonathan Montrell. Alexis Baramir versus Rodney Hines. Also on the card will be Nishat Nev, Zaquin Moses, Adam Meka, Pablo Valquez. Interesting to note that there is no Puerto Rican or New Yorker on the main card for a fight that's going to be going down in New York. Very interesting there. Also, I'm not a big fan of the Tito Mercado fight opponent. I just think that there's somebody better than Jonathan Montrell. When we were talking about Sergey Lipetz, we were talking about other guys in that mix. Those are the guys I would have liked to see as opposed to Jonathan Montrell, but that should be an easy win for Tito in that fight. So, overall, is the card very stacked? No. Is it a solid card? Sure. I think a lot of it's going to be determined on the co-main and main event. The rest of it's going to be just a lot of prospects. And then Andy Cruz, how does he look in that fight? Does he get his shot to go for the IBF champ world title in the future? That's what we're going to see in that card there. But interesting card that got released. I have one final way, the grand finale for today's show, that I want to talk about in this segment. When I was during my show yesterday, there was a press conference going on for the Edgar Berlanga versus Hamza Shiraz and Shakur Stevenson Zepeda, that whole card press conference going down in New York City. I watched the highlights after the show, and I want to say something right now. I have been very critical of Teofimo Lopez over the duration of the past while in the way he decides to become this villain role and build his brand and build his ability to want to be marketed in a sense that, let's just be honest, that is not right. That's disrespectful. That is a horrendous way of doing it. But I want to highlight this. Edgar Berlanga has, well, he obviously can be questionable in some of the things he does. I think he's displaying currently how to be the villain role in boxing. When you watch that press conference, Edgar Berlanga builds up and is acting the way that a villain should roll. And I feel like this in boxing has been so confused. There are so many ways to be a villain role in boxing other than doing things that are racial, that are doing things that are inappropriate, doing things that are illegal, whatever it might be. There are ways of doing this the right way. And I think Edgar Berlanga is doing it the right way. You can disagree with it. You can make yourself hate him because that's obviously what his intention is. But at the end of the day, you can't not deny the fact that Edgar Berlanga is very, very entertaining. He made that press conference entertaining yesterday. He was exciting. He was hilarious. And I think when you watch that, you can make your opinion on him. But Edgar Berlanga is doing it the right way. And he is very easy to clown and make fun of. But at the same time, we have to remember this. Boxers' goals is to get clicks. Whether it is to be funny, to get made fun of, to be criticized, whatever, it's to get clicks. The more clicks, the more impressions you get, the larger your name and image becomes. And Edgar Berlanga is doing that the right way. Edgar Berlanga is a good fighter. I do not think he's one of those elite guys. Will he become a world champion? Possibly. When Canelo Alvarez retires, the belts open up. Who knows what's going to happen? But he's clearly a big gap behind Canelo Alvarez, and we'll see if he can even get past the likes of Hamza Shiraz or Caleb Plant, so on and so forth. but he will continue to be a guy that guys want to fight. Why? Because of his name, the way he builds up fights, what he does for social media. And I've heard so many guys that are at 168 talk to me on the show now and say, I want to fight him. And I'll be like, okay, great. So everybody just wants to fight this guy. Why? Well, it's quite simple. He knows how to build a fight and it makes guys money. It's nothing, for the most part. There are times he's been criticized. You could make sense of saying things have not been right. But for the most part, what he does is he gets clicks the right way and he brings attention to the sport and the fight. He's what a promoter wants to have hired. Not something that's going to be excessively controversial, but still controversial in the right sense. And that's why we see the Canelo Alvarez fight was, while he did just run around and try to make it through 12 rounds with Canelo Alvarez, Edgar Berlanga did have a game plan. And it was still an entertaining-ish fight. And the build-up was very, very entertaining. And you talk about the fact for this fight now. Once again, very, very entertaining. And we're still about a month and a half, 2 months out from the fight now. The way that he goes about his business is to make sure that people are talking about him. And it's not in a too vulgar or bad way, but he does it the right sense. It's going to get more and more attention on his fights, his opponents, and in return, that brings in more money to boxing and ultimately for his paycheck and his opponent's paycheck. And I think that's what we have to look at. So, too many boxers have lost sight of how to properly promote yourself and how to properly and respectfully, in a certain sense, go about your business so that you become the person that is marketable. They've decided to go down these ways that just don't need to be brought into boxing. Berlanga's doing it the right way. And I do respect that because it was entertaining. Now, a lot of people are going to hate him for it, and I get that. That's part of his game plan. But it's not in a sense that I can't stand this guy. He's disgusting. How does he even say those things? It's in a way that's just annoying. And that's fine for boxing. It's exciting for boxing. I think back to one final thing I want to make a point on this is when he lost to Canelo Alvarez, or in his opinion, he won the night by being able to go for 12 rounds with an all-time legend. He went back home. And the iconic picture of Edgar Berlanga comes up where he is doing the FaceTime video type of picture, and he has all the people riding out with him. A victory ride out, you could say, when he just lost. That picture has been surfaced within boxing communities time and time again. It is hilarious. Who the heck in the world would ever want to go celebrate going 12 rounds just to last 12 rounds? Not 12 great rounds, 12 rounds of running. That's Edgar Berlanga for yourself. It makes no sense. It's confusing, but at the same time, it's hilarious to see. We can all have funny conversations about it, and you can view him and judge him for how he is as a boxer however you want to. But it keeps people talking about him, and that's how you're supposed to do business when you're trying to be a promoter's dream, and that's what Edgar Berlanga has done. So regardless of what occurs on July 12th against Hamza Shiraz, my bet for you is that Edgar Berlanga will be in position to have another big fight. He will be in position to go fight another guy. Hopefully Caleb Plant, who I know many people want to see because that buildup would be hilarious. But another big fight. And as long as he continues to have a win or two in between these things, his name, his way he speaks, and what he brings to the table from a financial standpoint will continue to propel Edgar Berlanga into contention for other big fights because he's marketing himself in the right ways. That's how I wanted to wrap up today's show. So I just want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. All three of those interviews are going to be posted separately very shortly. Also going to get a couple clips from what I just talked about coming out very shortly as well. But I hope you guys have an incredible weekend. Have a great rest of your Friday as well. I will see you guys on Monday. We have 2 interviews booked for that day as of now. I will announce those when we get closer to the date. But I'll see you guys on Monday. May God bless you guys all. Have a great weekend. And SchuZ is out. See you guys later.